In 1977, Paul got married. Also in 1977, Paul's wife was caught out cheating on him. After months of marriage, he discovered that his wife wasn't paying bills with his money as she said she was, but was spending it all on herself. She was even overdrawing his bank account. After everything was sorted out and we'd paid all his debts, his wife and her mother went to his flat and tried to claim all that he had left. They got away with some, but he was well rid of her when she left. He ended up coming back to live with us. Michael was enjoying his sport. He loved his cricket and was doing well at it. Then he started judo and he was good at that too. Then he started weightlifting with a friend of mine in work, Rhys Davis. We had to travel to Alan Lockin's gym in Penclouth. Jean and myself would take him training, then call into the pub and have a drink while we waited for him to finish. He was entered into the Welsh Championships in Cardiff and came second. Alan reckoned he would go a long way, but then he suddenly finished. Carol was working in Hodges, and after a while she met a boy and started courting. He was working with her. In April 1981 they got married in Cocket Church and had their reception in the Blue Anchor in Penclouth. Her husband's name was Michael Kift, and about 12 months before they got married, he joined the Welsh Guards and was stationed in Pirbright near Woking. They were married with a guard of honour. It was a very colourful wedding. I even missed the swans to go. For all that, it was well worth it. Shortly after the wedding, I hired a Bedford van, put all the furniture and belongings that our Carol had accumulated, and Carol, Jean, Mike and myself took it all to Carol and Mike's new house. It was a terrible feeling leaving our daughter. It was the first time we'd ever parted. It didn't take her long to get used to her new life, and the following year she went in for our first grandchild. It was to be my mother's first great-grandchild, and she kept saying that she didn't think she'd be around to see it. My first grandchild turned out to be a gorgeous girl, and like my mother predicted, she passed away 10 weeks before our Nicola was born. It was a terrible shock, and she is still missed and talked about a lot. We all loved her very much. Nicola was born on the 12th of August 1982. Straight after the sadness of losing Mam, we were blessed with a bundle of joy. Our only regret is that Mam didn't see her. Carol had her in Mount Pleasant and stayed with us for about 6 weeks afterwards. In 1984, our Michael got married, and it wasn't long before we had our first grandson. He was beautiful, a proper little smiler. His name was Jamie, and he was born on the 7th of July 1985. Not long after, Mike joined the Ministry of Defence Police. He was sent to Molesworth, not far from London, well, it's 75 miles in fact, and soon had a house near Oxford, well, 62 miles away from Oxford. After only 10 months, 2 years, he gave the job up and came back home to live in Lycha. About this time, Paul gave his job up in the IMI. He was discharged for taking too much time off, but he didn't like it anyway. I was still enjoying my job in the engineering section. I was one of the senior hands in that department, working continental shifts and weekends when I could. Then, in 1986, Carol had another baby, Stephen. He was a lovely boy, but after a week the midwife noticed something wrong with his feeding. He was taken to Morrison Hospital and they found that he had something wrong with his heart. He was then taken to the Children's Hospital in Bristol and passed away on the 30th of August. He was just 6 weeks old. It still hurts when we think of him, and we think of him a lot. In April 1987, Michael and Janet had Kerry, their second son. Another beauty. He was ginger and he smiled at me an hour after he was born. Like the others, he was gorgeous. In February 1989, our Carol had Andrew. Like Nicola and Stephen, he was born home with us even though Carol still lived away. Yet again, we were very lucky. We were now blessed with 4 fantastic grandchildren, and Emma came along to make it 5 in 1996. Me and Jean are very proud of them all.